Hello. Looks like Rod made it in. Hi, Susan. Rod's
I
going to
feel,
run this meeting. I just wanted to listen in.
yep.
Hey, Graham, how's India?
How is India? It's not California. It's I don't think I'm gonna say,
Fewer
but
unhoused people?
you know, I think housing is relative,
Okay,
and I think
fair
that's what
enough.
we're talking about today, actually.
There you go. Well, I was just looking at
Who's John? Don.
that project on Belvedere, which has been abandoned. And then today I went by and they're working on the roof there. And that's something different as well.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
That's
I wonder what happened there.
Which one?
the one on
It-
Belvedere.
Oh,
That project
is
has
old.
been going on for like 20 years, and it has gone through several development changes over the time frame. And some bad people have actually said, you shouldn't build there, it's so unsafe. And who said that? The owner.
Unbelievable.
Looks like our man of the hour, David
hi.
Crimmins, has joined us.
Hi there.
Good evening, everybody.
Yes. Hi. I'm trying to get in touch with a couple more people on land use. And
Yeah, because so far it's only us two, right?
exactly.
Hmm.
Well,
I
actually,
just
Susan is on our land use too.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Susan. Okay.
You're muted.
Sue Glendenning just rang me for the information, so I just emailed that to her. She's on her way. Hopefully, she'll be joining us in a minute.
So Christine, where is your office located?
Oh, well, I assist David from
Right.
my home in Marina Bay. So
Okay.
I'm a Richmond resident.
Well, what about David then? Where is he located?
Oh, I'm in San Francisco.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. There she is. You made it, Susan.
I did.
She's a neighbor.
Good. Hi.
Okay. You don't need this one.
Here's David Cole.
Okay, great. We got enough.
Yeah, my wife Jan is also listening, but she's not feeling well, so
Don.
she might show her face, but she is participating in a way.
And I just received a text from Peter who's he's had a little glitch. He's logging in a moment.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
All right. Good
Okay.
luck, everybody. I'm going to
Okay,
listen,
thanks.
but not participate.
Alrighty, so here's how this goes. So we're the Land Use Design Review Committee, and our goal is to help owners of the adjacent lands and developers, owners of the lands being developed, understand what's going on, identify things that are maybe problematic, and try to work within the setting of this in a non-judgmental, non-aggressive way to solve problems at the most local level before it goes all the way up to the city council hearing, which would be after a planning commission approval and somebody fights it. So the progress of development in Point Richmond, and this is for any exterior changes or a brand new building or whatever, is land use reviews it. We make a recommendation to the general membership that Philip is president of. That happens at 7:30 tonight. General membership meeting happens. At that meeting, the neighborhood of the whole Point Richmond community says, yeah, sounds like a good, either as approved as given or with conditions, and we'll accept it. Or they say, take it off calendar, the consent calendar, we want to hear about it. So David and Christine, you're going to have to be present to hear what's happening at the general membership meeting after this.
Absolutely.
If it goes off consent calendar, then it's a higher level review in that you have the whole community of whatever is there in Point Richmond on Zoom to yay or nay on it. So what we are is advisory in the land use committee. What the neighborhood is the final view of where they are for today on this project. And then it goes, the city planning department says, hey, did you talk to the neighbors? Did you have a meeting with neighborhood council? Philip writes a note off to the planning director and the developers and the whoever the principal planning person is about what we said, and if there's conditions, what those conditions are. And then it goes from there.
The other element too is that if there's lots of people coming in on this meeting and there's a lot of questions and comments and concerns, sometimes our committee will say to put this off for the next meeting until more things are worked out between the developer and the neighbors. Because you don't want to end up in front of city council. It's a big pain in the neck. But I mean, it worked eventually, but then the whole give and take between what the developer wants and what the neighbors want kind of ends. Because the city council will make a decision and it could be one that everybody's unhappy with.
And that's happened. We've actually
And
had a
that's
development
happened.
where the neighbors said, boy, we wish we'd gone along with what the land use had said, because now we got a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And sometimes pieces of crap, as long as they meet all the code issues, can get in. But what we could have had is something much better. I want the something much better. It's my neighborhood too, guys. So how the other part is I will identify who gets to speak and who doesn't get to speak in order. So when you want to speak, raise your hand. Don't just start talking. And the other thing is the land use committee talks first.
Among
we review,
ourselves.
and then with the developer, with David
And ask you
Susan.
questions.
And then we open it up to the general memberships, and then we make a motion of accepting or deny or accepted with conditions or whatever.
Or put off for
So-
a month or whatever.
So I'm gonna have us introduce ourselves. This person right here is Bonnie Satry Daly. We reside together, we're married, but we don't always agree. And we've been builders. We've built the house we live in now, and we've lived in many houses in Point Richmond. We own another one, and we've remodeled that. So that's our skill set. I'm an engineer by degree, and I do mainly commercial development, not residential development. We'll go to David Cole.
Yes. Did you want me to introduce myself?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm a member of the LUDRC. My background is not primarily in building or construction, but I've been involved in a lot of building and construction. My wife and I have remodeled a number of homes. In fact, every home we've ever lived in, we've remodeled, I would say. And I've done some construction work from the ground up, but not as a professional. So, and, you know, have spent every weekend for years going into every open home, you know, wherever it was we lived. So
Yeah.
anyway, residential construction and neighborhood standards are certainly something that I'm particularly interested in and sensitive to.
Thank you, David. Susan?
I am a new member. I am a realtor broker for Compass. I live here in Point Richmond. I lived here for 6 years. I've sold property here longer than that. I love Point Richmond. I love everything about it. And I know about this particular one because my good friend Betty Tarr, I think, lives next door to this property that's being built. And it's a great piece of property. I think I missed that it got sold. So lucky you guys. It's a great piece of property. So
He's had it for 20 years or more.
oh. So who's that? Oh, I thought who's
Okay.
oh, I thought, yeah. Are you the one that's been off into China for 20 years? Is that that?
No, I'm not David Shea. But or
Dave
Shea,
is not
Jeff
right.
Shea. Yeah.
Jeff Shea is the owner of the property.
Yeah.
And he's had it for quite some time, correct?
Yeah.
Right, I know, because I've had
Presented a-
people who wanted to buy it, so that's why I knew about it, but I thought they were off in China. But anyway, so exciting that you're.
Okay, next, Peter. Peter, I love your dining room. Got to go off mute, Peter. It's not going to work.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. I
Wow.
just decorated it while you guys were introducing yourselves.
French.
Yeah, thank you. I've lived in the Point for over about 20 years. I've been president of the PRNC, and I'm currently an officer at large. I live on a floating home, so my background as far as developing property and property rights and that sort of thing is a little constrained, but I do have an engineering degree background, and I'm a good listener, so I'll pay attention. That's it.
Okay.
Thanks, Peter.
Christine, and then David, introduce yourselves, and then we'll turn this over to David, I guess.
Terrific. Thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. And for those of you, we had an opportunity to meet Sunday, and then the following Wednesday, we had a Zoom. It is really such a pleasure to see a community coming together with a common interest to, do the best by way of the neighborhood and the neighbors. So thank you for your time. And my job is assisting David and moving things along in the kind of procedural permitting, et cetera, process should we make it that far. So I'd like to introduce David Crimmins, the architect, and just so you know, the relationship with the property owner, David is stewarding that relationship, so he may be able to give you insight that I don't have. So David?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm David Crimmins, I'm an architect. I work out of San Francisco. I do mostly residential. And I myself used to be for years in the Russian Hill Neighbors. That's a neighborhood group, the land use committee for Russian Hill. So I'm familiar with the process of, we would review, we would make a recommendation, move it along, and the owner of the property would hope to get a favorable letter from us. And yeah, and my client is Jeff Shea. He said he's owned the property for 30 years. He plans on residing there. He lives in Piedmont now, and he travels the world a lot. So I think he's in Indonesia right now. So nice guy. I think most of you know him, I would guess. Anyway, so I'm happy to be in front of everyone and be able to show this project. I'm proud of it. So tell me what you want to know, ask any questions.
So David, take over the meeting. You can share your
okay.
screen.
Share screen. Okay. Give me a minute to futz with okay, so I'll start with just I think I'm on. Give me a second to dig into my computer, or it's my iPad, honestly. Okay, so hold on. So just I'll just buzz through what the current construction site is, and we can zoom in on anything. So here's the cover sheet. Here's is there a delay, Christine, in the images? Anyway, and this is the topographic map showing the elevations. That's the roof plan and site plan turned at an angle so it fits. And that's the top floor. And then of course, these are the middle and the lower floor. And we'll get into it in a second. And then finally, we've got the graphical images, the 3D image, one from the street and two from the beach.
So David, just I know there are some guests this evening who were able to join us in person on Sunday.
Yeah.
Some of these images, for Graham and Jan and Russell and whoever else we met, some of these renderings you haven't seen.
Oh, right. That I'll
Yeah.
I'll
So
I'll zoom into it. Just,
some things are new from what we had as collateral back.
oh, well, I mean,
then.
the 3D person updated the beach view, for example. And anyway, and here's the cross sections, you know, that's the shows, you know, they're cut right through the middle of the building. One is through the entryway and one is through the garage. So I'm just gonna buzz through, you know, go through what we have, and you guys can just stop me and ask specific questions. And if
And I think keeping in mind, David, that the key takeaways from our meet and greet were definitely obstruction of view. There were concerns about, you know, how close to the property line, especially 225.
Yeah.
And the pool. I think, you know, generally speaking, the layout of the home, I don't think was problematic. I think people would like to understand a little bit better the ADU and the junior ADU.
Oh, okay.
So I think those, if I'm correct, those were kind of the general concerns that we heard initially.
Okay, yeah, the view and the ADU, and yeah, that's
and parking. And
parking, the view, ADU, and some people commented on the pool on the beach. Which okay, so let's just start with well, first of all, the property lines. You see that 225 is right on the property line, and which isn't, you know, I'm not complaining, I'm just pointing it out. And this is the general property line. So what do we have? Let's have a beach. Let's go with the first of the 3D views. So the end, here's what the street view is going to look like. And you know, it's a sloping road, and we got the garage on the uphill side, and notice it's, let me see if I can mark this up, give me a minute. So the house next door, which we have a photo of, is quite, like, how they got away with that. I mean, it must have been a while ago. That's like blocks everyone's view. This is this existing house here. So that's the height of that is 65 feet.
So this is Betty's house.
Okay, I mean, but it's 65 feet. And the reference level, by the way, 65 feet means it's a reference level. 5 foot is high tide, for example, and everything goes from there. And then we're at 54 and 0.5 right there, and we have 51 there. So
above the sea level. Yeah, that's the height above sea level for everybody.
Yeah,
that's the height of the building.
Yeah. So I mean, it's always a comparative. So, and then next door, here's the next door house that tops out at 54. But on the street it's 48 and change, 0.25. And here we are at 51. So it's a little short of 3 feet difference from here to there. And then it pops up another 3'10". Oh, what happened? Sorry about that. Sorry, glitch with the computer. Didn't like that. Yeah, and so basically what, you know, to the left is this travertine stone wall with a garden in front of it. And you enter into a gate, and there's a little courtyard behind that wall. And then comes the house. And then the owner wants to live on the lower floors of the house. And then to the right is, of course, the garage. And the thing about the garage is we got to get a car into it. The car can't go down some steps like a human can. So that's why the garage is that height. And so we pushed the house down a reasonable amount so you could see over it and see the view and see the city. And so that's what we're doing for the view, right? And, you know, if we, like, the owner doesn't really want the garage at that height either, but I just can't get a car to go down a steeper slope and that's where it's got to land. Because the owner's got to take 4 steps from the garage to the front gate. Because that's just, it's a movement of, that's physics.
It's the landscape.
And then here's a view from the beach. So you just get an idea of, so the very top floor, let me scribble. So, so this is 225 over here. And we're 237. And what was this, 251?
Yes.
So this is kind of a view from the west, I guess. And this is a bedroom. This is a bedroom. This is the master bedroom is right here. And down here is a living space, living and kitchen. So that's the key thing, is the owner wanted to have everything down on the beach level, not so much you have a view no matter what you do, but he wanted interaction with the beach. And that's basically the layout. And if you look at the cross section, you can see that we got a lot of vertical to deal with here. So you can see there. Here's the living down below. This is the master bedroom, and this is other bedrooms for kids and the 20-something-year-old kids. Although they have an infant now. Yeah, so that's that. And then see the garage, we're forced to make the garage, it's sort of a one-off. You can see the garage right here. And so it's a little higher than the rest of the house, just because the car has to get in. We love to make the garage lower if we can, but it's just, and maybe when we get to it, we can push it down a little bit, as long as a car can get in there is kind of what's driving it all. And what else we got? Oh, the ADU. I
think it's very helpful to show the top view when from the gate.
Sure.
The deck area, yes, to kind of show a flow of traffic.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
And what that ADU actually represents in terms of a separate structure.
Right. Okay. So you guys know what an ADU is, right? It's an accessory dwelling unit. The state gives you a freebie on that they're pushing it. So here's the ADU, which is 500 square feet and a little change, right around there. So it's smaller than allowed, we can go bigger, but that's all we got space for, really. And then here, of course, is the garage, which is a little bit higher than the rest of the building. And so again, let's say we call this 0, the height of the 225's garage. This is +3, and this is +6.5. And the ridge here is 65. What is that? It's something like plus, I don't know, I want to say, I got to do the math, but something like +15 or something. It's quite, but maybe forget about that. This is way high, but so and then also the eave here is the ridge is 50 of 225 is 54. Hold on. What is wrong here? Okay. This ridge is roughly 54 feet in elevation, which again, this is 51 and this is 54.5. But granted, we're closer to the street at 54.5 and they're further off. So I'm just trying to say that the height is reasonable is what I'm trying to get to. So back to the layout. So if you're here at the street, you walk on in, go through a gate, go down 6-7 steps, and now you're at the entry door, which is right here. And then you're on in. And then you've got bedroom and another bedroom, which actually we're calling a JADU because we get liberal square footage credits with the planning department for ADU and JADU, which we'll get to in a minute. And yeah, so garage and bedrooms for extended family. And then here we've got the stairs going down and an elevator. And then we're on down to the bedrooms and the living space. So the key thing is so that travertine wall is right here. So we're trying to make that pretty. And we got the garden in front of it, which is right here, of course. And yeah, so trying to keep things, the face to the street nice and simple, right? So which you saw in that previous elevation, which is right here. You know, trying to keep it nice and, you know, kind of a clean look. And then it falls away and the action is down below, basically. Am I missing?
Any questions so far?
Yeah, please.
From anyone?
I
I
wanna
mean,
go.
we're just kind of going,
Anyone from the committee, maybe.
well, from any questions thus
Okay.
far?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. Why don't you finish your whole
Oh, okay.
presentation, and then
Okay.
the committee will address those issues.
Okay, cool. And then, so what we're asking for on the square footage, so there's two planning department rules. One is, you guys probably know this, so, you know, sorry to tell you something you already know, is you got the lot coverage. We're okay on lot coverage. We're within the 45% lot coverage. And then there's a certain formula for maximum square footage, and we're over that by 20%. So we're asking for a 20% variance in the maximum floor area. And yeah, and so note that they've gotten tougher with the floor area. They tightened it up. And so when I did looking at the assessor numbers for the direct neighbors, I determined that the floor area ratio is higher. Again, you know, things were built previously with different rules, and plus this property has a lot of that. You can see the front beach area, so it's got a lot of area, so the ratio works out pretty well. But when I looked at the floor area of the direct neighbors, the floor area ratio, which is less than 20% we're asking for, so let me see. Our floor area ratio is, where is it? Give me a minute. Well, this is a chart of the average floor area ratio for the direct neighbors. The average is 60%. And our number is less than that. So we're less than the neighborhood average, although we're asking for a 20% increase of current code. Just saying, that's one of the rubs on that's one of the asks that we're asking for. And yeah, that's that. I'm trying to get our percentage. Let's see, I have to find that number. Give me a minute. Here's lot coverage.
And I'm going to make a comment.
Oh, we're at
David,
41%. We're at
floor area ratios are something that can't be granted or taken away from by the neighborhood. It's something the planning department would have to.
Oh yeah, but you know, I think.
But it's good for us to know.
I'm pretty
Well, the other
sure.
thing-
I'm pretty sure when we ask for a 20% variance, they're going to say, "What does the neighborhood council think of that?" And you know, because you know, a variance is a variance. You don't have to give it. So
Yeah.
we're at 49% of our floor area ratio. According to the formula, 41% is the maximum. We're 20% over. My calculation of the neighborhood average is 60%. But this is not a totally fair comparison because a lot of the lot is beach, and also the JADU and ADU doesn't count. So it's not necessarily doing apples for apples. But anyway.
And also, I'd like to remind the architect and the developer that the neighbors aren't actually applying for a permit at this point. You are.
Oh
And
yeah, of course.
their stuff was built and grandfathered in.
Oh, I understand that. I mean,
So
no one's going to have to reduce the size of their house. That's not the
Yeah, they
point.
can't, that is not an element that can be brought in as a cause for you to create a variance.
Oh yeah. I'm just pointing out the data. That's all. You know. like,
No, but I have comments on that, but I'm gonna hold my tongue until you're done.
okay, sure, sure.
'Cause otherwise we'll never get into the whole project.
Okay, and so what else I want? Oh, we put up story polls and we only have one decent picture of it. Let me see if I can dig it up. Hold on. This was just last Friday was put up. Here it is. So that's a picture of the story polls in the front. And you know, what the water looks, yeah. So story pole one, you can see that right there. That's a story pole. That's the edge. This is the edge of the garage right here and here. And here's the stone wall. You can sink, you know, so you get a feel for what we got. That's the heights. And you know, depending on where you're standing and what angle, everything changes. But that's that.
Where were these pictures taken? From the pavement?
Yeah, this is the edge of pavement, but it's slightly up. You know, it's not from the center of the lot, so it's kind of on the, you know, as you know, right here is a bit higher. Is 4 feet higher than over here, and yeah, it's edge of pavement. You know, on the kind of the high side of the street. You know, on the uphill portion. So, you know, if you're downhill, it's a different game. You know, everything depends on where you hold the camera. This is from the contractor. It's the best picture I have, and you can walk by and check it out too. But you can see, you know, you can see as a comparative to here, you know, as I said, it's, you know, something like 9 feet below that. We're roughly 3 feet above the 225's garage. And this is approximately equal to the ridge of 225, which, you know, you can see in the photos. And again, we'd love to push the garage down if we can. Oops, I shouldn't erase that. Anyway, yeah, that's it. I'm happy to buzz through. And the other thing, last thing to talk about. I can talk about this forever. You have to stop me.
Well, we didn't touch on the pool and we
Yeah,
didn't touch on parking.
Exactly, that's what I want to do. Okay, where are we with this? So pool, the best view of the pool is this aerial view. And right there. Okay, you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
Is that 13.5, the elevation above sea level?
Yes, well, mean high tide, I see this says mean high tide is 5.3.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the surveyor's elevation. So it's all relative. So it's mean high tide is 5.3, king tide is 7.2, the patio is 13.5, and the patios of the neighbors are shown as well, 9.5 and 11. And of course, you know, supposedly the ocean will rise in the future, they say. And so that's that. So we're, you know, we want to stay away from that ocean as high as we can, but we can make it higher, but that seemed about right, 13.5 feet. And then inside is 14.5 feet. So we're a full 7 feet of the ground floor interior is 7 feet above king tide. And
the pool dimensions are,
oh, it's 20 by, oh, I forget what the width is, honestly. It's
6,
something like, yeah, you're right. I think that's it.
long and skinny.
That's all we got space for. So it's like 6. Oops. That's 6, and this one's 20. And it's 5 feet deep. It's basically, you know, for
Laps.
well, yeah, or just splashing.
For all those hot days in Point Richmond.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they can, yeah, I asked them if they want a hot tub, and they're like, no, we want the pool. And I'm trying to, you know, part of the design is, you know, we've got these planters here and here and here and here for obvious reasons, you know, so it's because both houses here have these big walls, you know, that are, you know, the neighbors are looking down on you. So trying to make a little bit of privacy, but you can only do so much. I think, Christina, am I missing anything?
I don't think so at this particular level, but I think we need to talk about the street level. And
Oh, you mentioned
there's
parking.
a
Right?
lot of concern about parking.
Oh, okay. Parking. So basically, you're just doing a two-car.
Two-car garage, and the
car,
intention,
right.
I think, for the extra dwelling, you know,
Yeah.
is
Give me a minute. My computer's locking up. Okay, so basically, that's the roof aerial view, and parking goes like this. Hold on. So you got covered parking number 1 here, covered parking number 2 here. The ADU, my computer's not happy. Sorry about this. The ADU is, the project is within a half a mile of a bus stop, which means that the ADU doesn't need an extra parking space. Otherwise it would need one, but we're in a half a mile, so it's not required. So it's basically 2 off-street parking spaces. And
as far as you know, this extra dwelling unit is not intended for a separate tenant rental. It's for family use, as guest use.
yeah, that's what that's what Jeff Shea told me, is he doesn't plan to rent that out. I don't think ADUs are allowed to be short-term rentals at all, by the way.
That's okay. We
I think
understand.
it's either long-term or nothing.
Right. Okay.
At least that's what I read.
Me too. Okay.
But yeah, he's never expressed, I guess he'd have the right to rent out the ADU, but he's never expressed desire to do so.
Okay.
It's more for
Older kids.
well, he wants a little studio there, and he's got a little galley kitchen, and shower and all that stuff. So
okay. Trying to think. And then
So your setbacks on the east and west, or north and south, I guess, are they what, 5 feet, 10 feet?
oh, right, good question. So code is 6 foot. The side yard setbacks is 6 feet. That's just code. And then I forget what honestly I don't remember what the setback is for the rear yard, but we're well within that. And then this line, by the way, actually let me increase this. This line here is a public easement line. And then I think it's 25 feet. And then the front yard setback is the average of the neighbors, of adjacent neighbors. So the garage is drawn at 6 feet, I think it is. I have to tell 6, let me see, 6'6". So the garage is currently 6'6" from the property line. And then this is 9'0" from property line.
And then there's unpaved street in front of you.
Yeah.
Are you gonna pave that, or is that going to be?
Yeah, good question. I mean, we're gonna have to put we have to pave it for the driveway. That would be the only plan. But honestly, I haven't even yeah, I don't know if we're allowed to put steps in like here, 2225 has steps right there. I'm not sure how that is going to work with the Public Works Department, because the paving is really quite far from the property line. It's surprising. You zoom in right there.
Oh, wow.
So if you were looking at that from the edge of paving to the garage front, how many feet is that?
Oh, I have to measure it, but just guessing, if that's 9 feet, it's another 9 feet, it's another 9 feet. Oh, no, I remember. I'm sorry. This is 25 feet from property line.
Okay,
Yeah, check.
That's right. I have it on the cross section.
and then so another 6 feet on top of that, so 31 feet.
From edge of pavement, you're, yeah, 31 feet should be right. Pretty close to that. And then, yeah, this wall, and by the way, you can, if you zoom in, see this, this is the surveyor's stuff. I left on the, see this line right here of this stuff here, here. That's the existing fence.
Okay,
So pretty much where the front of the house is gonna be roughly where that existing fence is.
so I guess the next question is, the junior ADU, does that have a separate entrance?
The entrance is, actually, let me go to the first floor plan there. Hold on. It's right. Yes, it does. It's, I guess this kind of shows it. It has the sliding doors here. Oops.
That's the ADU, but the junior ADU.
Oh, the junior ADU. Yeah, the junior ADU. Here, I'll go. Let me go to the floor plans. Probably best to show it that. Here it is. So that's the actual floor plan of the top floor, and a minute to futz with the tech here.
Yeah.
So you go through the gate, down the stairs, and now you have this open deck, and then you can go into the junior ADU here, or you can go into the ADU there, or the entrance to the main house there.
And it doesn't look like there's a wall between the main house and the junior ADU off the efficiency kitchen and bathroom.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. It's connected. So that's one, you know, you guys probably know the junior ADUs are different rules than the ADU. ADU has to be separate. Junior ADUs can share and stuff like that. It can have an internal connection and be a part of the house, whereas an ADU has to be more separated.
Okay.
A question I'd like to ask quick is, a property able to have a junior and an auxiliary unit together at the same property?
Yes, I think there's some nuanced details with that. I've done a previous house where we had both at the same time. I had this reviewed by a planning department person, who's quite knowledgeable, and she says it's within the rules.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a very good question.
Okay, David, do you have more presentation or you want
No,
us?
just Q&A at this point.
Okay. Do you have any other questions, Bonnie?
Oh, I have a ton. You go first.
Okay, well, one thing for me, looking at legislation for ADUs and junior ADUs, was to provide more housing for the community, not more housing for your family members. So I'm wondering if the city says, well, wait a minute, you can get an ADU, but the whole idea was to provide more housing for the public, not more housing for a family. So I'm wondering if there's a reasonable answer to that, or I mean, Jeff is being honest and saying, no, it's just for my own personal use, but it looks like we're kind of skirting the application of the law
Right.
by adding ADUs that are not going to be available to the community. That's one thing. The other one is, I'd like to see eyeball drawings where you show where a view is taken, you know, where when you have for views for the community that like from the across the street when you're taking an elevation view looking towards the bay. So you show on a map, you know, a survey area that shows where the view is being taken and the elevation of the eyeball, which I think is like 5'5" or so.
Oh, right, right.
So that people can understand. And the final thing is down on Ocean, which is about the same elevation as the it's about 45 feet above sea level. People get fish in their driveway. How? Waves come very high here sometimes, and the wind blows hard, and the fish are elevated with the wave, go over the house, and
What? Over the house?
into the driveway. Not every day, but when we have had storms that have done that. So that's going to be a saltwater pool, guaranteed. And just
Good.
letting you understand,
Yeah.
Mr. Shea hasn't been there during the storms, but we've seen areas of Point Richmond disappear. And in fact, just 3 houses up north from that house, the shoreline has dropped back 10 feet in 10 years. So there's some aggressive waves, and BCDC might have some saying about.
Yeah, I'm bracing myself for BCDC's feedback on how close to the water level it's allowed and what's, you know.
Well, one of the elements of this committee's approval is that we know what's going on with what BCDC tells you.
Yeah.
We need to
Right.
hear that before we can make real
Right.
full
They're very
comments
strict.
about
I-
this
I-
project.
I've contacted BCDC already a couple of times, and you know, gave some preliminary stuff to them, and they said they're happy to review it concurrently to the the planning department and the neighborhood group process and the building department process.
David, do you know that your camera's off?
Oh, is it?
Yes, you're not talking. It's hard to just look at your face.
Oh,
It's a nice profile.
That you're not talking to.
oh, I thought you were I thought you were seeing my screen.
Yeah.
We are seeing your screen, but it looks, I don't know. It just,
Can you see the drawing? Can you see a
I
drawing?
like it.
Yeah.
You can see
No,
the drawing,
it's
but you are just your picture. And I find that hard because it's hard.
Wait, it's
'cause
not
we're
my
having
video?
a conversation.
Wait, so hold on. So let me mess her with it. Let me go back.
Sorry, everybody. That bugs me.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. My video's off. I apologize.
Yes, we need to see your face.
Okay, it's okay. There I am.
Okay.
I
Okay.
didn't know that my video was off. Sorry.
Sorry.
So the other issue for me is variances, by definition, are authorized when there's a site issues that are unsurmountable to meet the code, and that it's a hardship that you're asking for the variance. It's not, you don't get a variance because you asked for it. You get a variance because we said, we've looked at this 6 ways to Sunday, and we can't do it unless you give us a variance. And so the city should look at it from that perspective, that variances aren't a given. They're because there's some hardship for the site, you know, the slope or the, you know, the setbacks or whatever. It's not, the variance isn't because you want it. It's because you've got some conditions that are causing you to ask for the variance. And
Yeah,
just,
fair enough.
that's my position, that variances are not a given. They're only granted if you need to fulfill some hardship.
And
Yeah.
if you end up in front of city council, the fact of variances makes it a much more difficult go for you guys to be approved. It's
Right, I agree.
a much faster approval if you ditch all your variances, except maybe one or the most minimal one.
Well, it's the floor area ratio is the variance, and you know, yeah,
And-
that I hear you on that one.
And normally for me, floor area ratios, where you count all the square footage of a house, are only for commercial projects and not residential projects. So I'm gonna have to look into that. But the lot coverage has always been a rule, and normally it's 60%. of lot coverage. And then the other thing is you have to have a play space of at least 150 square feet. You can't make the whole thing a house and not have anywhere for anybody, including children, to have fun that isn't inside a house.
Yeah, the house can't cover the whole lot so that there is no access to a reasonable open space area around the house.
But the deck area within the entrance area can count as play space.
Okay,
So
I'll look that up as well.
the whole idea is that, you know, it's not a zero lot line residential development. There's supposed to be some place for people to be outside and enjoy the outside.
Well, and
The
also
decks
to
and
have
pools-
a house that doesn't cover the whole complete lot.
Okay, so those
I-
are my points. Bonnie
I mean,
has some.
I mean, just to
Well,
interject on the floor area, we did a design of the house on a diet, basically, like that's the term I used, like, let's put the house on a diet and get rid of the 20%. And we tightened it up and, he said it'll last for 20%. I will give you 20%, let's do it. But it is
Yeah.
a bit of a win-win, right? So like, you reduce it by 20%, that's 20% less you're paying for a house, right?
Oh,
Less
yeah. I
construction
mean,
costs.
There was somebody else developing a house that wanted a 3,200 square foot house, and the city said no, and they ended up with an 1,800 square foot house because they were over developing the lot
Yeah.
from what they were allowed. And
Well, okay, I mean, yeah, in this case, because so much of the living space is, yeah, I get it. The city's gonna be like, tell me about your hardship again. Let me see if I have the image. So, yeah, in our case, all the square footage is, dropping away from the street. So you don't have this big McMansion facing the street. But yeah, you're right. When we're talking hardship, I don't think it's gonna fly because there's no hardship here.
okay,
But go on.
okay, so that's me, Bonnie.
Well, I would like to know, just right off the bat, how tall is this building from the
Good
bottom to the top? We know that they average out roof lines, but what is the actual height?
Let me get that in front of you. Let me get to this image. Here we are. Okay. This is actually better to show the through the front, the gate. This one. That's good for. No, that's.
Well, the whole house comes
Yeah.
from the beach up.
So
Normally, what I want to see is the maximum allowable building envelope
right.
drawn on the drawing, so we can, and then a dimension from existing grade to where the top could be.
So this line here is a 32-foot line right here.
Okay,
That's 32 feet above grade. And this here is 9'6" above grade right there.
So what's the total height?
Well,
please,
I guess if you go
here.
at the very worst case from here to here, it's 32 plus 4'6", so it's 36'6" high at the front face. I mean, the grade moves around, as you can see, the grade moves around a lot.
Sure.
But I mean, this is a 32-foot reference point right there. And there is a spot where this roof, see, I have to check and see what counts, whether this eave counts or not. So this eave, if you count this eave, then you were at 36 feet and change. If you count just the living space, we're at 32 feet.
You have to count from the roof.
Yeah, so this eave is 36 feet above the adjacent grade. That's the number.
Okay.
Okay,
Um,
and then there's one more thing. All housing in Point Richmond, or all of Richmond, I think, requires solar heating. I mean, solar energy. So
New construction, right? New construction.
okay. I'll note that.
so that would be sitting
Oh, that
Where?
unlikely that would be sitting on the, behind the garage. It would be right. The best place for that, sorry about the messing with the controls here.
Yeah.
Is would be here.
Okay,
Why don't you ask on the rest of the
okay,
meeting?
Bonnie, you got more for you?
No, right now I'm all set.
Okay, David, comments, questions? David Cole? Are you there?
Are you?
There we are. Okay. So I wanted to second, one of Rod's points, which was about the photo of the, yeah, the photo of the entry of from the street, looking at the house, and having the camera fixed at eye height.
Oh, right.
So we can see that, that was a concern of mine. In terms of the square footage, I mean, you know, I have to, you know, go with whatever the city rule is. But, I do feel like having it in harmony with the neighborhood is a fair measure, although obviously if the codes have changed in the time things have been built, there's a reason for them. So I'm a little bit of two minds there on that, you know, I could probably go either way, although if there isn't a variance except in case of need, you know, you know, it's hard to argue need for 3,200 square feet to me. But I think those were my main concerns. I wanted a second Rod also in terms of fish ending up in that pool. You know, that extra 7 feet, you know, from the high tide, that isn't, you know, king tide is not necessarily the highest the water comes.
Right.
And you know, by the time you've got a storm on top of that, you've got splashing easily that high, you know, at the height of the pool.
Yeah, so the 7 feet might not be the pool is roughly 6, and then the
Yeah.
interior is
Yeah.
7.
I
That's not high.
had a question also regarding the height. You said it's 36 or 36.6, although the way you drew that, that didn't include the height, the roof of the garage.
Oh, right. Well, so I mean, like, you know, it's not a flat lot, so basically one of the rules is 32 feet above slope, and then the slope line, I just drew the part that intersect. That's the 32. Sorry, that's the 32-foot line is like right there. And then at the street level, we're at 9, 6, maybe 10, depending on where you so yeah, so the interior of the house, in worst case, is 32. The roof, you count this roof eave, you're at 36 from the adjacent grade, you know, right there. That's 36. That's the worst.
Yeah.
And then everywhere else is significantly less than that.
Two up there.
So
Normally at garage, the maximum height above street is 12.
12.
Then you go to where you hit 32 and then at a 45.
I know, I'm only giving him an 8-foot ceiling height in the garage because we're trying to keep the views. And then, you know, we put the story poles up because it's so variable. Basically, it's like, where does this given the eye point? Hold on a second. I need an assistant. Christine, where are you when I need you with a tech? So at this location, the horizon is right there, right? That's the water line. So I compare the water line compared to that eave, and depending on where you are, it moves around, right? And then And then, so my personal view, when I was on the site and took pictures, but they were ugly pictures, with cars.
No
in front
worse
of it.
than mine, David.
So I determined when I'm standing at 5'6" or 5'5", center of the pavement, we're just so this is, so here's the water line, right? The distant water line. And yeah, with computers, you can make tricks and you got to like put it all together. But the key thing is the eave to the water line, when you're at the center of the lot, center of the street, it's a foot and a half below the eave. So that's how I set that water line. But you know, just like we're on site, depending on where you stand, it moves around. So that's why the story poles are up, because yeah. And this faces north, is impossible to get a nice photo, honestly. But so that's, so like, yeah, so like, yeah, I got, so basically, yeah, so that all I did was take a picture, overlay it behind the computer drawing, and set the water level to what I saw at 5'6".
Hey, David, any more questions from David?
Yeah.
No, those were my questions.
Okay, Peter.
Well, I'm going to defer all of the structural questions to you, Rod, because I don't really know those. I would think that the only issue that I might have any say on would be the fact that, you know, you have to contact all the neighbors and make sure they're okay with it, and I'm assuming you did that. As far as the height, it's shorter, considerably shorter than Betty Tar's, and looks like just slightly taller than the house on the left. So it's not obstructing any neighbor's views. I think the only other thing is, if you have any fish ending up in that pool, I think maybe the owner should be required to post pictures on Nextdoor Point Richmond or something. That's it.
But you might make it a salt pool. Yeah, it's healthier anyway.
Oh yeah, do that. Just make it a brackish water pool and toss them back in the bay.
Okay, Susan?
Where's Susan?
She's gonna come up. Susan, you there?
The chat indicates she left.
She left.
Oh. All right. Okay, how about the community? Raise your hand and I'll pick you. I can only see so many people. I see Susan Glendenning and
Okay, she raised her hand.
okay, Susan, come off mute too.
Oh, sorry about that. Hi, I'm Susan Glendenning. I'm at 240 Western, right across the street from this parcel. And I just sent a comment letter just before this meeting. Sorry for the last minute. I didn't realize that you wanted to receive comments before the meeting. But I did mention comments about the FAR, floor area ratio, because it does seem it's excessive. And as you mentioned, a variance should be, you know, for hardship situations. And this, you know, this is not a hardship situation, as even David mentioned, agreed that that's the case. And in fact, because this is in the shoreline protection overlay zone of the city of Richmond, you even have discretion to impose restrictions that are even less than what would normally be required for a structure in Richmond. And so therefore, because from my perspective and many points of view on the street in the public right of way, the view is being completely blocked, if not, you know, it's not completely blocked, but almost completely blocked in almost all perspectives. And it's completely blocked in many perspectives as well. So I don't think it's consistent with the shoreline overlay zone requirements, which says that the structure shall, you know, adhere to, shall not, you know, prevent the views and vistas from the public right of way. This structure won't comply. And so therefore you have that, you know, the city has the right to cause the project to be reduced in size. It is not conforming to the context of this site. Also, I would just want to mention, just for the, you know, just to mention that David keeps bringing up the other surrounding structures. Well, you know, BCDC was enacted later. Some structures were built before BCDC came into the picture for this very purpose, to protect vistas and enjoyment of the nature in Point Richmond and all the shoreline areas around the Bay Area. So, you know, we're trying to stop total, you know, obliteration of our views and of enjoyment of the Bay. So those kinds of points are in my letter. Also, you know, I really do take to issue about the fact that this property is on the in the Keller Beach sanitary sewer moratorium zone, and so that is a really big issue. Whether that moratorium is going to be renewed or reinstated or not, I don't even think should matter, because no new hookups should be added regardless of a moratorium. No new wastewater flows should be allowed to enter that system. It's already dilapidated and failing, as I put in my notes. And I see Graham has his hand up. I'll let him, I will concede to Graham.
Okay,
Or
Graham.
whoever.
Thank you, Susan. Graham?
Yeah, hi. I did send my comments yesterday. I don't know if they were forwarded to Christine and David, but almost everything in my comments was brought up
Excuse me.
It's not your turn to speak.
I don't believe that the attachment or any of your comments or your letter was actually forwarded. I think it was intended to be forwarded maybe, but no.
Sure, I
I
didn't really,
replied to that effect.
Okay,
So,
no, not implying
so-
that. I'm just letting you know that it is there for your reference if you want it. And
absolutely.
a lot of the things I brought up in that, almost everything I brought up with you and David in the meeting
Same.
on Sunday. And I didn't find out about this as a neighbor. I did not find out about from you. I found out about from the neighborhood council, and it did not give us a lot of time to prepare for this. In fact, I'm in India right now, missing some planned events to participate, but we're not here to talk about that. So I feel like there's two different versions of reality here. One is what's presented in the various versions of plans, and one that is the actual impact on the neighbors and the community. And we could just start with, you know, the photo the image that you brought up around the story poles. If you could bring that up again.
Okay, give me a second.
Okay. Right. And so those poles would represent the front of the garage. And there you are on the highest point on the uphill side of the street looking down. And so it's actually the poles at the rear of the garage that would be pertinent, not the ones at the front of the garage, right? Since you're looking down.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on where your eye point is. So
where you are right now.
Yeah, this
Right.
is probably in the very high point of the street, right? You know, where you park. You can see a little bit of foliage right there in the camera.
Right. And as you said in your comments, that, you know, view is relative to where you are standing.
Yeah.
And that you might have various perspectives, even if you just walked across the street to the other side, which is probably at least 2 feet below where you're standing right now, maybe even 3 feet.
Yeah. So basically, like the lower you are, this will move, right? This
Exactly
where you are. Yeah.
When I walk down.
So like, if you were, you know, I guess
Right.
Yeah, so what I found is when I look at the horizon line, it intersects right around here at the center of the street. And then,
Sure.
and
And you're a 6 foot tall person looking down. So those poles are not the ones that are pertinent to the view. It's the ones actually in the rear of the garage. Since if you were standing there, you would see the roof of the garage. And I'm not sure if that little parapet is included in your story poles or not. How did you determine the height of the roof?
oh, I mean, this just defines the face of the building, of the garage. I mean,
Right.
that's it. I mean, you know,
Right. So a lot of what I am going to comment on is the accuracy of what you're presenting. That this is selected to look as, you know, unobstructive as possible. And the reality is actually something quite different. For example, my wife is 5 feet tall, I'm 6 feet tall, and it does make a difference. And most people, as I observe walking up and down the street, are actually on the other side of the street, the lower side. And so
Yeah.
we can go through each page of your drawings and find out things that I think are problematic.
okay. I mean, and that's why, by the way, that's why the story poles are up. So you can physically go there and determine which vantage point is the one relevant to.
Right. And do you get my point that it's the ones in the rear that are pertinent because from where you're looking, they would be higher than the ones in the front. They would be the ones obstructing the view, not the ones in the front.
They'd be still
not
on the
following.
same plane.
Yeah, being on the same plane, it's the poles in the rear that are obstructing the view, not the ones in the front, the corners at the rear.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. I mean, that's, well, I mean, we can argue about this all day long, but if you're standing right here, say, and you're 5 feet tall, this here is 9'6" above that. So that's the driveway is going to be like that level.
Right.
And then so your viewpoint, you wouldn't even, you know, the house would be like that. You know,
Right. You wouldn't see any, there's no view.
you
Right.
wouldn't,
So what
you
I'm
wouldn't
trying to
see
say
the,
is that
you would see the roof, you wouldn't see the far roof or this.
you'd see the clouds in the sky
Yeah,
only.
the closer you are to the you know, because it's a 9.5 foot high garage right here. So yeah, if you're right next to the garage, you're not going to see over it. So yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So my point is that there's what you're presenting here and the actuality. I feel like I'm in two different realities. And in the real world, almost no one's going to see any water unless they're about 8 feet tall from that point in the street.
Oh, yeah. If okay.
Okay.
As a committee member, I'd just like to add one element here about views and story poles. They are difficult for people to get a true picture of, but you know.
Sure, but it does help because the images presented in the plans are misleading, to say the least. And we can go through each page of the plans and I will tell you what I think is inaccurate and misleading.
Okay, put it this way. I personally was on site and I personally saw that the water line intersects the house right there. Center of street, my eye level, or, you know, my level is 5'6". So I'm not, I mean, again, if you're looking from here, it's the, you know, the water level moves depending on where you're standing, but I'm the center of street. That's why we put the story poles up to
We're
so
back.
there's no misleading. We put story poles up. There's no way to.
Well, you
mitigate
said you're in
that.
the highest point in the street, right? It looks like you're almost in the driveway, even in the driveway of the house across the street.
We
Well,
lost a connection with the meeting for a minute.
Oh, okay.
I know.
So
we're
we
not-
need to also talk about the fact that if you stick to the lot coverage instead of asking for a variance for it, what you create is view corridors for people that are walkers. But when you have the building swallowing practically the whole lot without, because it needs variances, because it's so large. You lose those view corridors that actually count well towards getting your project approved. But at this point, we also need to see if any more of our committee people have any questions, and also if any more people in the community besides Graham, which you know, asked some great questions, if any other people in the community have some questions of this group, of the people that are looking to have this approved. Is there
Yeah.
any other people? Yes, Graham.
I'm just wondering how much time I have.
Not a lot, because
Yeah,
we
Okay,
have
can I
to
just-
all talk together as a committee and see
I
what.
want to wrap it up in 4 minutes.
Yeah, he wants to
Okay.
figure that out. in
Can
4
I say
minutes.
one thing? I don't want to have David taking up my time. If you go on to the next page of this, I have some other issues.
Oh, sure. Which page do you want?
David
Next
is
page.
part of the committee. He needs to take
No.
up time.
Oh, which
David
David are we
Crimmins?
talking about?
David Crimmins, I
Oh, the
mean.
other David, okay.
So which
Right.
item do you want to have a look at?
Okay, let's look at okay, so junior ADU and ADU. You are, as you say, they're going to be used for family members. And so this is really like, as you described in your cover letter, a 5-bedroom, 4.5 bath house. And if you add in the bath and those as bedrooms, it's really 4,100 square foot house. And it has a real impact. And to be used by adult children of the owner who actually do have cars, the parking has an impact as well.
I'd like to interject,
Okay.
Graham, because the truth is, you know, you're taking my words that I said about the ADU or the additional space being used for extended family. The truth is, I
Excuse
don't
me.
really know.
I think this is my time right now, and you can have time
Okay.
afterward. Is that okay?
Of course.
Thank you. Okay, and also look at the ADU. For an ADU, it doesn't meet the requirements of an ADU. The recommendation is for a 50 square foot kitchen area. And you have, I think, less than 5 linear feet of counter space to have a sink, permanent appliances, area for food preparation and cabinets.
Let me zoom. Sorry, I'll zoom in. Right, where are we? Here it is, right there.
Okay, again, you're taking my space and responding to it right now. But what I really mean to bring up is that these drawings do not represent the accuracy of the reality of the situation. And the actual reality is different because there's a reason that there are statutes or regulations around floor area ratio now is to try and preserve some character of the neighborhood and the impact on the community. And that is real floor area, whether it's being used as classified as an ADU or not. And I also,
Okay, thank you.
I have only
Graham,
limited
for-
time.
No, we
All of the
don't have any more
drawings-
time. The
sorry.
committee has to get together and make a motion about this project. That's part of what we need to do. We have only heard from you from the outside. I don't know if there's other people that wish to talk, but they
Yes,
don't really
there
quite
are.
have much time. Yes, Russell.
Thanks
Can
very
you-
much. Thank you very much. I'll say my points. I don't need responses right now. We can follow up aside later on. So I agree with all of the points that were talked about this afternoon and this evening. It's been a very good discussion. It's a very nice looking house. With regards to the variance, I do also agree with everything that's been said by Susan, by Graham also, and points by Rod et al. I think that needs cannot be demonstrated here. So a variance would be a very, in my view, something that'd be hard to ask for with a straight face. I think that the very reason that there's a restriction on development of floor area and lot size is because we think that there is not adequate visibility through these areas. And so overdeveloping does block views and aggravate these kinds of issues. Secondly, I think that the sewer system is a big question, as Susan mentioned. I do believe that this sewer system would bring maybe 3 or 4 more folks loading into that system, and nothing's been done at all to improve that system. And as was a justification for getting the moratorium in the first place, that system is on the edge of failing. And as my colleagues and neighbors are telling me, in many places, it is already failed. Anyway, so doing anything with that lot that connects to the sewer system is going to aggravate the exposure of Richmond to liability through public health concerns, baykeeper issues, and access to recreational water bodies under the Clean Water Act. Thirdly, I think that the city of Richmond, by issuing a permit for this house before the sewer issues are resolved, and I don't know how long that could take, is also leading the city into exposure for, from further liability. I think if I were developing this lot, I would expect some level of certainty that my plans, my developments, my investments, and my community and neighbors would not be disrupted by any afterthoughts by the city who decide they would like to put a pump station in the middle of that public parcel or that parcel of land. I would also like to sort of add to this, to all of this, that the 4 posts of the storyboard are very important for the public to see how this project will impact views, and the poles at the back corners of the house would give the public a better idea of what those views would look like. And then lastly, I would love to know where I can send my official comments to, and it sounds like my neighbors would as well, for the record. And it could be that this is maybe hard right now because no one's yet been assigned in design review or in a plan review process. But without that, it feels like